Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been 3 years since we've had the opportunity to have an in-person conference. So the good news is we're here today, we're meeting, it's awesome. The bad news is, unfortunately, there's not much progress in Egypt until today. There's been a lot of changes I think that the government would like us to think are actual changes, but they're not. That's what we call propaganda. It fools us into thinking there's actual change. Token arrests, token changes in the law that don't actually represent true change for the average Christian in Egypt. For example, the church law in 2016, so many people celebrated and said, wow, a special law just for Christians. But Coptic Solidarity and other groups looked at it and said, no, this is intrinsically discriminatory. This law doesn't actually advance the rights of Christians because it's not unified. If it was unified, we'd be on the same page as everyone else. And everyone's house of worship would be protected. Baha'is, Jews, Christians, as well as Shiite Muslims, everyone would have protection under a unified law. When you dig a little deeper and the smoke dies down, let's look at how many churches were actually built under that new law. What actual changes happened? A lot of churches applied, but only about, let's say, 42 to 43% received approvals. And everyone says, wow, that's great, we start clapping. Oh no, those approvals are only preliminary. They're not even final. And they're for pre-existing churches. There's nothing there that talks about new churches, which would help us what? Actually advance and grow. This doesn't contribute to our growth. Keeps us at the same size we are now. That doesn't help anyone. Just a few weeks ago in August, unfortunately, within a 2-week span, 11 churches were burned. 11. The government was very quick to call them accidental fires. So if you break it down, well, first of all, this just isn't real in any part of the world. There's no way you can expect us to believe that these were all accidental. But let's just pretend for a second that they were accidental. There's obviously a problem with the law that prevents churches from doing the normal things people do, repair, fix. So if they were accidental, there's a reason for that, because you have prevented us through the law from actually making these buildings safe. Let's go to the other side. They were probably not accidental, because in what country in this world where we'll have 11 consecutive fires in a 2-week period on the anniversary of when 80 churches were destroyed just a few years ago in just a 3-day span? The government's lack of response and the government's lack of investigation is part of the problem. Obviously, if the government was doing their part, we would have a true investigation, we would have resolutions, we would have real change, but we don't. If we look at other areas where we lack accountability, the last few weeks, actually the last few months, we've seen so many examples of Christians killed in public. Some decapitated, stabbed. If you go through the news, not just the Western media news, if you dig into the other news, the Arabic news, you'll find so many Christians killed. They don't get any Western attention. So what does that mean? They get no justice. The only cases that the government says, oh, look at this, someone was arrested, are the cases that receive Western attention. The rest, the 99%, no attention. What does that mean? No safety, no protection for the Christian minority. The average Christian is walking around thinking, if that happened to me, no one would care. It isn't that one case that gets arrested that we should all be happy about and celebrate, but it's the 99 that received no attention and no justice that we need to think about. We need to go through that propaganda and stop being fooled by that 1 or 2 examples of justice. That does not translate to real justice. It's just a token, just to keep us quiet, just enough to make us think there's progress, but in reality there isn't. Last thing I'd like to end with, which we're going to have an amazing panel on today, is the blasphemy laws. That's another area of great concern. The government abusing laws to punish Christians and to persecute them further. One last case, just I think in the last couple of months, of this young man who was convicted and sentenced to 5 years because some information they found on his cell phone, which was stolen, was found to be blasphemous. And the young man received a 5-year sentence. If you read, and of course this is not covered by Western media, if you read the coverage in the Arabic media, it's almost hilarious. And they were actually mocking it in some Egyptian media because the judge commented on, if you want to have religious freedom, it's in your own personal space, on your own time, in your own home. So some in Arabic media were mocking it, only in your dreams type religious freedom. That's where it really exists. You could dream about it all you want, but as long as it's not past your dreams, you're okay. So we hope today that we will not only talk about the real truth, but we'll be able to talk about solutions. Only when we work our way through and figure out and pull that veil back and see what the truth is past the propaganda, can we actually address the problems? Can we actually have a real discussion about progress? So hopefully today's panels and speakers will help us get through that and work our way towards solutions and progress. Thank you guys for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this amazing program. It's been 3 years, and I'm sure today's going to be great. Thank you.